the Walden-Pence amendment.
Great.
Thank you, Mike. I'm Greg Walden, and I appreciate you all being here. As a way of background, for over 21 years, my wife and I owned and operated radio stations. And I grew up in a family whose involvement in the radio business in small markets in Oregon dates back to the 1930s. And so I'm acutely familiar with the fairness doctrine when it was in place and when it's been gone, and the importance of standing up for freedom and First Amendment rights of the airwaves. And Mike and I have worked together, too, on standing up for reporters' rights and the National Shield Law. I actually have a journalism degree, and so I believe very fervently in keeping the government out of political speech and away from religious speech, both of which could be affected if the rules that were put forth under the prior administration for consideration through the FCC were to somehow find their way through a back door into either rules or law. Now, some may argue that with 305 members voting with us back in 2007, why is this even an issue? Why is it an issue today? There are other people who have come out and said, oh, we're not going to do that. I think you always have to be vigilant and proactive in standing up for free speech rights. Silence sometimes is observed as acquiescence. And I think only because Mike and I did what we did on the fairness doctrine a couple of years ago did we get to the point where they backed off. But then you began to hear talk about coming at it through localism. Localism meaning that you do community ascertainment surveys like were done in the 70s and repealed later. That you would appoint some sort of community advisory boards that could then dictate to stations what they think should be covered. As a result of that, you could put in peril their licenses. I don't want Acorn or other groups, right or left, in a position to have that kind of authority and effect when it comes to license renewal. And that's where the amendment that we've asked the Rules Committee to consider, which they'll take up today, and allow us to offer on the House floor, does a comprehensive approach to prevent the fairness doctrine from coming back and to, as Mike said, stop this whole notion of a backdoor fairness doctrine under the rubric of localism. I think it's very important to do. I think it's something we have to keep fighting on, and I appreciate the support of my colleagues. And frankly, if everybody's saying it's not going to happen, then offering the amendment shouldn't be a big deal. They ought to give us that chance, and maybe they'll adopt it by voice vote. We'll find out this afternoon whether free speech rights exist in the House of Representatives and the Rules Committee or not, whether or not they allow us to have the amendment at all. So I appreciate you all being here today. I'll turn it over to my colleague, Jeb Hensarling from Texas, to make some comments, and then we'll hear from Jeff Flake.